So the Lee Jae Myung administration's first National Assembly audit began on Monday, setting the stage for 3 weeks of government-wide accountability checks. The 3-week review will cover everything from judicial rulings to economic and cultural policies, with lawmakers closely questioning top officials on their decisions and performance. Our Moon Hye-ryeon joins me in the studio to tell us more. Welcome back, Hye-ryeon.
Good evening, Dami.
So Hye-ryeon, walk us through the whole audit process and do give us a recap on the first day yesterday.
Right, so the National Assembly is essentially a major annual review of how the government and public institutions have been performing, and relevant top officials report on and answer questions about their performance. This year's audit, starting Monday, has 17 committees reviewing over 800 government agencies and is the first under the Lee Jae Myung administration, opening with sharp clashes between the ruling Democratic Party and the main opposition People Power Party. At the Judiciary Committee on Monday, Supreme Court Chief Justice Toide faced intense questioning from the DP over a ruling finding President Lee guilty of false claims during his presidential election campaign in 2022, while PPP lawmakers call the session politically motivated. Cho warns that summoning judges to testify about their rulings threatens the court's independence.
If judges are made to testify about their rulings simply because they presided over a certain case, it could discourage them from making judgments based on the Constitution, the law, and their conscience, and even lead to decisions swayed by outside pressures.
Meanwhile, economic ministries were also under scrutiny. Trade Minister Kim Jong-un warns that Korea's export dependence on a few countries leaves it vulnerable, pledging to diversify markets and boost ties with the US, China, and Japan. Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chol said Seoul must quickly wrap up tariff talks with Washington and confirmed plans to meet with US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent this week.
So Hye-ryeon, no surprise, bipartisan tensions were high yesterday. Now, what can you tell us about today's audit, on top of the audit on Unification Minister that our Bo-kyung reported in the previous report?
Right, so the second day of parliamentary audits also saw heated partisan debate in the Science, ICT, Broadcasting and Communications Committee over the fate of the Korea Communications Commission and the arrest of its former chief, Lee Jae-suk. The DP argued that abolishing the KCC, which they claimed had been used as a tool for media control by the Yoon Suk-yeol administration over the past 3 years, was only natural, and called for accountability from its staff. Meanwhile, the PPP protested, saying that the creation of a new commission to replace it symbolizes the Democratic Party's parliamentary dictatorship and shows its unilateral handling of legislation. In addition, the Culture, Sports and Tourism Committee also held its audit today. Minister Choi Hee-young highlighted concerns over slowing growth in Korea's cultural industries, stressing the need for active investment.
We must develop K-culture into a future growth industry worth over 300 trillion Korean won and strengthen the cultural and artistic ecosystem that forms its foundation.
The minister also pointed to tourism and AI-driven content as key areas for policy innovation, showing that economic and cultural agendas are closely linked in these audits.
Hye-ryeon, that's just 2 days into the audit. So what can we expect in the weeks to come, more than 2 weeks?
Right, so the National Assembly will actually be taking its audits overseas to Cambodia, and this comes following crimes against South Korean nationals, including the kidnapping and killing of a university student by a local gang, and the Foreign Affairs and Unification Committee will conduct an on-site inspection next Wednesday. It aims to review the status of crimes targeting Koreans in Southeast Asia, with the DP and the PPP again clashing over who is to blame for the crime. The DP says that crimes have surged over the past 2 years, while the previous embassy and foreign ministry failed to act, while the PPP argued the ambassador post was vacant at the time, blaming the current administration. And beyond the audits, the two parties have agreed to hold a plenary session on October 26th to process 70 livelihood-related bills, including measures to prevent emergency room turnaways and support childcare centers in remote areas. The session was set for a Sunday to avoid overlapping with ongoing audits, and both parties have pledged cooperation to ensure the swift passage of these pending bills.
Hye-ryeon, a lot to be covered in the coming weeks. So thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Thank you for having me.